Alrighty guys, welcome back indeed for some more Path of Exile. So last time we left off, we showed you guys how to fight one of the Conquerors, and in this video we're going to be fighting all of the rest of the Conquerors. You'll actually have to complete them multiple times to get these things called Watchstones, and basically these bosses have some sort of mechanic, and we'll go over that in a moment. But what I wanted to do at the start of this video is show you guys how I have done my progression with the build. Keep in mind, this is all optional. You don't have to get every single piece of gear that I have, although I will just give you guys some sort of recommendations or some sort of guidelines to look out for these pieces of gear with like these set of stats. But keep in mind, again, these are all optional in terms of our gear choices. In fact, in the gameplay that you guys are going to be seeing for me killing the Conquerors, my gear is going to be much worse than it is right now when I'm showing you. And the reason why is because I want you guys to kind of prep, or if you happen to have the currency, you might as well pick it up before fighting these other bosses. And then what we're going to do is we're going to actually be doing the final lab very soon, but this trial, you get it randomly on a map. So as you're going to be doing these maps, you're going to start putting in more of these little stones for the Conquerors to actually spawn in a higher tier. And basically you're just going to have to complete more and more of these, and eventually I got mine during red maps. Now it's kind of different, it's RNG on when you get these trials to spawn in to do the final lab, but now you only have to do one of them as opposed to doing all of them, which is a really nice little change that they did make. It's way easier since you only need to do one of them. You can also buy the offering to the goddess off of players. It's a tradable item, but we'll go over that in a second. The main thing is going over the gear, going over the tree, as I have made some changes. Now hopefully you guys have some sort of currency, just a little bit of chaos orbs, so you can buy gear with chaos res. If not, I'll give you guys some recommendations. So at one point we had like 4.8k life. Now if you notice, you're like, what the heck, your life is lower. Even though my life is lower, our survivability has actually gone up a lot higher, and I'll kind of explain that. So in terms of the skill tree, this is what I decided. Now at this point I've already done the final lab, but I'll show you guys the final lab. It's a lot longer for the next lab because it's just going to be a lot more difficult, and it's basically just a lot longer in terms of like what you got to do to get to the end game. So here's what my tree looks like. Feel free to go ahead and pause, screenshot, whatever. The only thing that might be a little bit different here is that you may not be able to get immediately is it's something called the interrogation. It's a cluster jewel that gives you secrets of suffering. Now this is relatively expensive. It's about 70 to 80 chaos orbs, at least right now. Keep in mind, prices can fluctuate. It gives me the ability to do brittle, but other than that, there isn't anything that I would say is insanely expensive. Now there's also another jewel that I got called the Lionized Fall. This is a really cheap item. It used to be really expensive, but now it's super cheap. So it'll be about 5 chaos orbs is about the price right now. I'm going to use my little scanner tool and double check for you guys. Yeah, okay, there's a bunch for 7, so it went up like 2 chaos. This used to be like an Exalt, so it used to be like 100 chaos orbs. So it's gone down significantly in price, but what it does give you is melee and melee weapon modifiers in a radius are transformed to bow modifiers. What you do is you put it in right here, and it's going to transform all of these that would normally be claws and daggers to bow modifiers. This is something optional, but it's relatively cheap, and you can invest into these points if you want to. Now, if you don't happen to have the Orb of Regrets or the Scouring Orbs to turn into Orbs of Regret, which you can do by just going over to the epilogue in Oriath. So this is when you complete the campaign. You can talk to Lonnie, and you can purchase whatever you need in terms of currency from them, or you can just use the PoE trade websites. So we can go to purchase items, and you can buy your Orb of Regrets here, or your Scourings, when 2 Scourings equals an Orb of Regret, or you can just buy the Orb of Regrets off of other players. This is again something optional, but I'm going to give you the info that I personally like used in terms of like what I wanted to spec out for my build. So spell suppression is quite nice. Originally over here we were pathing over here. I respect out of all of this. The reason why is getting chaos resistance on gear is kind of expensive earlier on. Now it's going to be a little bit cheaper for more reasons. One, more people have better gear, and they're just kind of rolling off their like older gear, so a lot of the stuff with chaos resistance will be cheaper. I did also invest into this set of nodes over here, which is going to give me chaos resistance. And this is the jewel socket that I put in Lionized Fall. Remember, it has to be right here because it's modifying these specific skills. Otherwise, it's just going to modify claws and you get no benefit off of it. We also put in a mastery over here, which grants us 1% attack and was attack damage leached as life and mana. And previously we had spec'd in over here for 1%, but I decided just to put 1 point over here, and we're pretty much a-okay on that. Now, in terms of what you can do if you don't happen to have the Orb of Regrets points, you could just farm and just kill stuff on maps, and then eventually you can get to it. Another really important thing to do is get on the Chaos Resistance set of points over here, is you get Corrupted Blood cannot be inflicted on you. You can also get that on a jewel that it has a corruption. However, it's usually very, very expensive to get a jewel that's actually good with a corruption that has the Corrupted Blood cannot be inflicted on you. As you start progressing into higher tier maps, Corrupted Blood will start destroying you really, really hard, so I really recommend getting this. Again, these are all optional, but at this point, we also have, in terms of spell suppression chance, we have 100% spell suppression chance. So I invested some points. Originally, I got this over here because I was pathing out to get the health from over here. I'm like, okay, it's just 2 extra points. We get some extra spell suppression. But I ended up getting all of these points right here, and there are also a few suppression nodes over here. The armor that we're using grants us a 30% chance of suppress spell damage, and over here you can see in the very bottom text, 50% of damage from suppressed hits and ailments they inflict is prevented. So basically we get a huge amount of damage reduction by getting these points into spell suppression. I'm also, at this point, because I have the interrogation, I'm starting to sell crit. So we're going to be getting all of these nodes here. This is what I actually plan to do for the next few levels, is we're going to be getting these set of crit nodes over here. There's also a few extra crit nodes here that you can plan out. But again, this is only if you have the interrogation, as it's going to give you way better scaling with your crit, because your base crit chance is going to be really low, especially if you're running this bow over here. The crit chance is only 6%, which it's relatively low. I mean, you can get like 7 or 8. Sometimes you can go higher, but generally it's hard to get base crit in this game. But we also have extra crit multiplier. So there's critical strike chances, your crit chance, based off of the 6%. So if you want to think of it like 100% chance on crit of a 6% would be 6% crit, if that makes sense. It's not 100% crit. I know it's a little bit confusing. It's basically the decimal place gets moved over, but that's kind of how the crit chance works. But the crit multiplier is like that much more damage that you'll be dealing when you hit with a critical hit. At the moment, we will be scaling crit a lot better as we progress in the game, but this is what my tree currently looks like. Again, feel free to pause, copy, and screenshot, whatever, and you'll be able to basically get exactly what I have put into. So I got, I'm trying to see if there's any other ones that I got. I respect out of some of these points because right now it's way more valuable to get the crit, but you can just level up and you can get them instead of respecting out. It just, again, it depends if you have the currency to afford this or not. I still need to get SNS Trant. I still need to get Watcher's Eye. We're super far from being able to complete our build. We're basically like 2 exalts left for what we kind of need for a build. We need to get the helmet, which is about 1 exalt, and the jewel, which is about 1 exalt, to have like either flat cold damage or like 50% extra cold damage while affected by hatred, which is one of our auras. Then we'll also we can start adding in precision and other things, but that'll be a little bit later down the line. I just want to show you guys the bosses relatively soon here, so this video is not super long in terms of just explaining things without like gameplay. So in terms of what I've been doing, still rocking the same bow over here. We're using Tornado Shot at this point, greater multiple projectiles, elemental damage with attacks. We're running Inspiration, we're adding added cold damage, and Mirage Archer. Inspiration is kind of optional. You can run a different gem if you don't happen to have the crit, but it also give you good benefits. So what it does is it gives you elemental damage, which is what we want. It also gives us mana reduction, which is kind of nice, and then we start gaining these charges. You'll see in the top, we're going to be gaining these charges, and every time we have a charge, we get increased critical strike chance as well as more elemental damage per inspiration charge. So it just really helps us out overall. Very nice item. In our helmet, we have the Herald of Ice, which is nothing new, Summon Stone Golem. You can eventually swap into Ice Golem if you want to. I'm currently leveling up 1 Ice Golem over here. And then we also have Hydrosphere and the Coaling Strike support. This is, don't really worry about this. Coaling Strike, what it does is it destroys things that have 10% or lower life when they are hit by the support skills. So that's kind of nice. Eventually you can get this actually on the tree, where it's critical strikes have Coaling Strike on Dagger Mastery if you want to get it there. It's not bad at all. It's basically when there's something that has 10% life or lower, it just kills them instantly. It's actually quite nice for bosses. Then still rocking this armor over here. We have Hatred in it. Then we have Dash and the second wind. Nothing new with that. Our amulet is still absolutely terrible, but there's nothing in a good price range for me, at least right now. I've been kind of checking on the tabs on if there's something good for this spot, but sometimes you just got to keep on refreshing. You got to wait till people upgrade their gear and then they start selling their older gear for relatively cheap. So now we're getting a lot more chaos resistance. I recommend you guys to try to get some chaos resistance. I mentioned before that we want to be at least 0, but now you can start scaling chaos resistance as some of these bosses, especially the guy that does lots of poison, yeah, he will hit you really hard. He can be quite tough if you don't meet the chaos resistance requirements for whatever tier that you're doing. But pretty much just keep on rolling maps and you'll eventually have the area where you talk to Kyrak, and then you'll go to whatever citadel or area, and I'll show you guys the gameplay here in a second. But basically what I'm looking for on my bow is basically resistances, life, and more chaos resistance, because it's usually cheaper to get it on a bow that someone crafted with flat chaos resistance, which ours has 20. Then we have an additional craft of 13 lightning and chaos. It's usually something and chaos resistance, and that'll give you about 30-ish chaos resistance on your quiver. I've been rocking, I think, the same rings for a while. This one I know I've been using for a long time. Just, again, sometimes you just get a good deal and there's really nothing that can replace it for a while, but ideally what you want to have is like cold damage, or in this one we have elemental damage with attack skills, just some sort of like damage, and then if you can get like life on it and just a bunch of resistances. This one has a massive amount of chaos resistance. So using the worm sign gloves, we're running cast when damage taken, and we're running Immortal Call. Now this is something that I have changed up, and I'm still actually running Steel Skin, but I'm running Steel Skin on left click, and then the cast when damage taken, I'm running that with an increased duration. So the reason why you do this, and some people mentioned on the PoE Ninja website. So if you're wondering why do we use Steel Skin in the very beginning and then we swap to Immortal Call, later, if you look at the leaderboard, a lot of people are using technically both. I like to run, like what I mean by people are running both is there are a mixture of people running Immortal Call and Steel Skin. The difference between it is when you take a very large amount of damage, the Steel Skin will not be able to stop things that are damaged over time, which the Immortal Call will. So if you want to purchase this, you can go to the Epilogue Oriath once again. Let me go ahead and do this. And this is actually where you'd want to keep something under leveled. Like you actually don't want to level it up. Remember how I mentioned like most of the time with skill gems you just keep on leveling up, but there is a time where you don't want to level them up. This is going to be one of those instances. So if we go to Lily, we can purchase the 2 skills, so we can get cast when damage taken support as well as the Immortal Call. So Immortal Call is over here. It's going to cost you an orb of chance, and then we have cast when damage taken. Now you will have to rebuy another one of these because you want it to be as low level as possible. So we have cast when damage taken, and remember it only supports skills that are 38 or lower, so all the gems have to have a requirement of 38 or lower. Then we also have Immortal Call. We have this specifically at level 3 because it has a level requirement of 38, and that's what this one works off of. The increased duration is totally optional, but you might as well throw it in because it's going to increase the duration of our Immortal Call. So what Immortal Call does versus Steel Skin, which is something where we would just take damage and then it would automatically activate and we would absorb like a bunch of damage, right? Now, the difference is with Immortal Call, what it does is you just, for a duration, you take less elemental and physical damage. Now, on top of that, since I was running the Dodries, we do get the charges, which will actually kind of help out with less physical damage taken per endurance charge removed. I don't really like that, to be honest. I wish that it didn't actually remove these because I would much rather have the flat amount, but it's not that big of a deal. But this is something that does help out quite a bit, especially on things that would degenerate your life, as well as once you get to a certain point, the damage is so high that you actually receive that it will outweigh Steel Skin. But you can technically run both. The reason why I like running both now is because Steel Skin is basically my way to remove bleed. So the buff grants immunity to bleeding, which is actually really nice. So I like both. Feel free to, again, use the one that you want. Now, in terms of our belt, I've been running the same item for a really long time. And then the boots, we still are rocking the same boots, although I put Tornado in here. So running Hex Touch, Frostbite, and Elemental Weakness, still just leveling things up. And then now I want to also show you guys a quick little recipe, and then we're going to actually hop into the gameplay. I know there's just so much to explain, but that's just PoE. So there's a vendor recipe that you can use So remember how I talked about these gems before, the Gem Cutter's Prism, where you can take quality gems and convert it into the Gem Cutter's Prism, or you can just buy these off of players, you can find them. If we go to Lonnie over here, if we go to purchase items, you'll see that unfortunately she doesn't have any in terms of trade, but they are, let me check right now, just so I can give you guys a reference, they're 0.8 of a chaos, so basically for 8 Chaos Orbs, you can get about 10 of these. So that's, again, that's like a rough estimate. Again, prices can fluctuate. So instead of going up, what these would do is they would upgrade the quality of the gem. So for example, with Tornado Shot, we get per 1% quality, we get increased projectile damage. This is how you're going to actually be able to scale your damage and your defenses a lot more, by putting in quality. Now, it's only going to work on a level 20 gem. So let's take this, for example. If we take this, actually I should bring up the PoE. Well, the PoE wiki may be off on some of these, just as a heads up, because it's been outdated for about 1 patch now, and I know it's weird, but let's do, yeah, you know what, this is like, we only have that one right now, right? I mean, a lot of these are like right there on 20, but this one in particular is 20. So if I go to PoE wiki, greater multiple projectiles. There's also something called alternate quality gems that you can get from Heist, which we can talk about a little bit later. So I'm going to go ahead and now share screens here so you guys can see this. So per 1% quality on the superior version. Now there is different versions of the same gem. We won't get into that in this part because we're not even going to be really messing around with them, because one, they're super expensive for most builds, and on top of that, you're probably going to have your gems almost about level 20-ish. And so what it does is it grants us supported skills deal 0.5% increased projectile damage per 1% quality. Now you can just use the gems and level them up all the way. If you want to, you can put 20 of them in here. It's not really that great in terms of efficiency, other than for like these awakened gems. But what we can do is we can go to a vendor, we can put in our max level gem, which is 20, and then we can also put in 1 Gem Cutter's Prism. Now what that's going to do is it's going to go, let me actually move my face out of this one. Okay, so it's going to convert it to a quality 20, but it's going to reset the level to 1. Now you might be thinking, well, then I'm going to lose a lot of damage. Yes, for a small duration. And the reason why I say that is because you're going to re-level the gem all the way back up to 20. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit accept so you can see. There we go. So now we get 10% increased projectile damage, but then we lost all of that like bonus that we had because it was level 20. We're going to re-level up the gem so we basically don't lose out on it. And then if you want to, because PoE is all about risk and reward, you can then use a Vault Orb. Only do this though when it is, for most people, what you'd want to do is get it to 20% quality, and then you can go and Vault Orbit when it's level 20, 20% quality. You can maybe get the quality up to 23% quality. You can maybe make the gem go up a level so it's level 21, which you normally cannot do by just leveling up the gem. So there are more things that you can do, but we'll talk more about that later. Also, a really quick tip that I've been mentioning and what I've been trying to do is getting lots of these 6-socketed 5-linked items, and I put them in the Crucible, and with the Stitch Wounds I can make them a 6-link and then I can sell them, or what I can also do is get Divine Orbs off of them. So that's another thing that you can do for currency. But let's go ahead and do some gameplay of all of the new boss mechanics, and then we'll go over the final lab trial, and then next time we'll do the lab. So anyways, let's go ahead and roll these other bosses. Alright, so in this one we are just going to fast forward straight to the boss. This is Vertania's boss fight. So these are one of the other conquerors. This is our first time that we're going to be showing this boss fight up. Next thing I want to mention is we are no longer using Ice Shot. We are actually using another skill called Tornado Shot that we did previously had. I remember leveling it up still. So right now it's still pretty decently leveled as we leveled it up. But it's the skill that has the arrow come down, and then it's not the one that's coming down from the sky, but it's coming outwards, I should say, and there's overlaps. What you want to do with Tornado Shot is try to get this overlap to be there, because it's going to hit multiple times. Also getting your Hydrosphere, because this is Tornado Shot. There's moments where you can't attack the boss, and those times are the times where I'm going to throw the tornado, so then the tornado can be summoned when the boss is in the mode where you can't hit them, and then we slam as many projectiles into Tornado that will actually be chaining off of Hydrosphere over here. So this is our goal. It's kind of like what we've been doing before, but now we have way more projectiles coming out because Tornado Shot just has a lot. And these boss fights can be a little bit different. I got to show you the mechanics. So this is for Tanya.
This is my punishment. Come receive yours, Exile.
So we'll throw down this, start hitting them. Right, now we'll activate our buffs. Let's go activate that as well. So when she says that, kind of move a little bit further away because there's little tornadoes that she summons as well. And so when she dashes across like this, just keep on moving. This is like a moment where you can't attack, but when she does that little spinning thing, that's where she's going to actually spawn in. So just be careful. Our damage isn't super high, so I should be able to show you all the mechanics right now. And I'm not like really trying to spam the flask and get as much damage because I want her to do like her move sets, so it could be there for the explanation as well. But yeah, we should be able to show off like all the mechanics. So you don't want to walk outside here. You can take some damage from it, but not all. You'll eventually take way too much. So there's where she's doing that thing again. And you can throw the Hydrosphere right on top of that. And sometimes she will be like completely inside like the I'm trying to get her to do it, but I think she's gonna end up dying before. But sometimes she will go outside like over here, and during that, what you want to do is just wait. Don't like try to go out and chase her. But like since we're playing a ranged character, it's fine. It's only with melee where it's not very fun. But see, I was right there. That's where we want to go ahead and cast the tornado shot, and have everything keep on popping and chaining right on top of her. But yeah, there is for Tanya, and we have her defeated. And then now we have the ability to put in the Watchstone over here. Now you can put your Watchstones in different areas. It doesn't really like matter. Like right now, this is like the same blue Watchstone that would be like that you can get multiples of and put them in different areas. Later we can get Watchstones that do actually affect the Atlas. Like it'll like do something, and it'll have like maybe a certain amount of uses. Some are infinite uses, but that's just like the basic mechanics of the Watchstone. But we'll go more into it a little bit later. But that's Vertania defeated. All right, so this one's gonna be Hezman. This one I feel like is one of the more difficult ones because there's a lot of damage over time, and it feels kind of overwhelming. So if you want to spec into something that gives you less damage over time taken, that can be great for him. So with his mechanic, there's eventually going to be a bunch of snakes that spawn in. It seems scary, but he is actually quite fast.
I'm not up to that just yet.
But I like to stay on the outside until, like, you gotta watch out for these snakes, but pretty much you stay on the outside, and I'd say you're pretty safe. But there's a time where you're on the inside and you want to stay on the inside of the triangle.
I'm stronger.
See, now we gotta be on the inside.
I can't be bested.
But if you go too far, then the snakes will just start
My
hopping
mana
out.
is gone.
Hold still.
But our move speed is so fast, and since he's slowed down, got the chill, the temps, it just makes all the boss fights so easy. Now we'll go back on the outside. Watch out for that move right there. This one where he just throws, like, kind of like he spits at you.
Look at this guy.
And then now we got the boots. And then once again we'll get a Watchstone. We'll put it in here. And it'll increase the tier of the mask. But that's Alhez. Let's do Drox next. Now, he hits pretty hard for physical, which is something we don't really get to have like mitigation for. We just gotta like hope. So if your flash charges aren't up, one little tip that I have is like you can go into the Nightmare Realm and build up your flash charges. Well, in that instance we got some. So he summons these banners. It's really nice that we have Tornado Shot and it just hits everything. But those banners, if he's got multiple and they overlap, it can get kind of nasty. So, I mean, during this, you just have to kind of wait for them. You can kill the other enemies that pop up so you can get some flash charges. But in terms of the mechanics for this fight, he has these hands that he'll summon. Just keep on moving. As long as you have a decent amount of movement speed, you'll be A-okay. But you can actually do damage during this, but like you do very, very little. My suggestion is to focus in on killing the other things during this, and this way.
Look at this guy.
Okay, well, he has this move where, oh, there, okay, there it is. I didn't even need to reset. I was gonna say, you know what, maybe I should show a different one. So when he summons those hands, they go all in a straight line, so it could be in multiple different directions. But that's the only thing that I would say you have to watch out for, because when you're getting hit by it, if you're running, you're gonna get hit like multiple times. So basically, you would run towards it, and specifically just trying to dash away from it, or I should say dash towards it. Or you can dash away from it, like, as in, if it's going from, like, this side of the screen, like where my mouse is, then obviously, yeah, you can just dash to the other side. But you can also just dash towards it, and then that way, because it's just going to go straight, it won't, like, follow you. That's the only thing with this boss fight that, like, I would consider a little bit dangerous, but that's Drox. And at this point, we've got a lot of damage, so we'll start rolling stuff very, very fast. But that is Drox. And just like the other ones, you'll get a Watchstone when you defeat him. You can throw in the Watchstone, and it'll increase the map tier of the areas. Alrighty, welcome back indeed. So, these are going to be popping up as you just do maps. It's not like Mudgeyser specifically spawns in this specific trial of Ascendancy. But you used to have to do all of these trials that would be in maps, but now they've changed it. You just need to go ahead and complete one of them, and you'll get a chance at being able to complete it. Like, you only need to do one of these if you do it the first time, but it's gonna be random, and honestly, it's taken me quite a bit of time, and we started getting it on, this is a 75. So, like, I'm not sure if it's gonna be, like, yellow, red-ish is kind of like the area that you might get one of these as a chance to spawn in, but nonetheless, that's where we got it. And it's awesome. So these are going to be a lot harder. These ones, I definitely recommend taking your time on, as these ones will actually be super hard. Things that can help you out with this is that Vitality Gem. There's also another nice choice that you can do where the flasks start recharging. We're just going to go ahead and complete this one. You can get a lot of them though, but these are very, very difficult. I'm going to admit that, like, these are ones that I'll actually take my time on. I know, like, a lot of the other ones, I was just rushing through. I'm like, you know, you're just going to learn the mechanics and you'll get fast too. These ones, just really take your time. Kind of see how it works. However, let me go. You can still use your mobility, so use that to your advantage. It's going to pop up. Okay, so it's right there. So we want to go basically where it just, let's see where it just was. So when we go over there, it wouldn't be there. So it should be right there. Alright, so now it's over here. No? Okay, now? Alright, let's just go ahead and just dash twice and everything easy. So next, we'll go over here. And we'll be able to get the final Trial of Ascendancy. But these ones are really long. Like 3-4 times as long as like the other ones that we would do normally. So some of them you'll have like a timed crank and you need to be kind of fast. Some of them you'll go through multiple routes just to hit a, okay, this is one of those ones where it has a timed crank. You're gonna have to hit this one, then go all the way over to the other side. So I have another lever that we pull over here, and then we got to do it on the other side. It's actually pretty simple. Always pop these things if you can. And then get hit by that one. No biggie. It's only kind of bad when you get hit by like double. There we go. Hit the time crank. Pop another flash charge. Let's see. Can I even see this one? I think we're supposed to go on the... Oh, we are supposed to go this way. It's just hard to see sometimes. Pop this lever. I'm going to wait for my health to fully recharge over here. If you want to for these, you can take multiple life flasks. Because sometimes you just don't happen to have the amount. And you can go back into the town and come right back, and you'll be able to refill all your charges like that way as well. I'm just going to wait for this one to go on, and then now we go run, and basically we should be okay as the spikes are all basically coming down. And we're good with that. Ooh. I don't know why. Oh, we rubber banded over there. That was just lag. Unlucky for us. We're going to flash charge us back up. And it should be... Oh, no, there's no whole nother room. But yeah, they at least give you the ability to recharge your flasks. So that's really nice. So let's see, we got a timed crank, so it's going to go right here. Trying to actually time this one, but... Looks like it's just going to be something we just go through fast. And as you level up, like right now we're 86, while you level up, it gets harder and harder because not only do you have to get more XP to level up, but when you die, you lose a lot more, like XP, because it takes longer to get back, if that makes any sense. So I believe, yeah, I think we go to our left, so I'm going to wait for that to go down. Then is it this? So over here, we're like free.
I'm not up to that just yet.
Oh, okay, we got hit. Can I move? There we go. Oh, it wasn't fast enough. Okay, so this one's a timed crank. Okay, so be on the lookout for timed cranks. So this one, I want to wait for this one to reset so I can touch this one, then come back and touch this one. There we go. So now I'm going to go all the way back. Okay, there we go. Oh, we're good. All right. Once again, I'm going to wait for the life to go all the way up. Ideally, like I said, you'd have vitality here, and then you would just play super, super aggressive, multiple life flasks. Just for this. It's the only reason why I would ever like run multiple life flasks. We just got hit by that. Oh. Ooh. And one thing that does suck when you do die, you got to go all the way back. But it's okay. You know what? I'm going to keep it in here just to show you guys. I die too sometimes on these. But one thing that is very nice, and I don't have to do the whole thing over again, just from the last checkpoint that I had. So basically, we'll be able to go right to where we left off. No problem. Because it's good. Because, you know what? To be honest, most of these, if it's your first time, you may die as well. I mean, like I said, I've been playing PoE for a really long time. Usually I don't die on these because I usually am prepared, but like I haven't seen any of these in a long time, so I didn't bother like holding extra flasks. Because like I said, before you had to do all of them. Now I believe how it works is you just need to do one, and then you can just do the Trial of Ascendancy. And so, oh yeah, that's right. This one never pops up, but there's like holes for it. I don't know. Oh, here we go. And we were at the very end anyways, but it's okay. And so you touch the very end, and then you get the offering to the goddess. Now it just says we've done the Trial of Ascendancy. So I believe how it works is you can just go straight. And like I said, this is a new change to this new patch. And I'm going to go ahead and go on it. This is already mission complete, because this is a map inside of a map where we activated Zana. So there'll be some maps where you can get a map in a map, but they'll just appear in a map. Don't worry about like having to have Zana spawn in. But I believe this is how it works. I'm just going to like check really quick, because again, this is a new mechanic. So I'm going to go straight over to my Aspirant's Plaza, and you remember that you have to carry this. These you can buy from other players as well. And really quick over here, I am just going to, whoops, you capture PoE.exe. All right, I had it minimized before. There we go. So,
China.
Yeah. So you have to have this in your inventory. Okay, so that's awesome. It doesn't say I have to do all of them. I believe that's how it works, and I will do that in a second, but that's just like the mechanics of getting the final lab. There's multiple ones. There's ones where like there's like the fire that rises up from like the lava. There's multiple, so don't think that that's just the only one. I'm probably only going to be showing like one of them because I feel like the mechanics are kind of similar to what we've already done before, and I feel like it's redundant to show all of it. So just whatever lab that you get, it's going to be RNG, but you can just buy these off players if you don't want to engage in the mechanic. Let me check what the price is right now. These are currently 1 Chaos Orb. So what I recommend, some people like to farm those things because it is kind of like a challenge. It's like another way to play the game, right? It's kind of like a puzzle platformer kind of ish. Like you got to like time your stuff. So if you want to, you can just do those and kind of make currency and sell the extra ones that you get for some extra money. But you can see it took us like 5 or 6 minutes to do it. Maybe with a really, really fast build, you can get it down a lot faster. Some people maybe can like spec a build for it because they like it so much. But 1 Chaos Orb is way easier just to spend, just grind it out in maps. But if you don't get one, yeah, just buy it. It's called Offering to the Goddess. You can buy it. You just search just like any other item on the trade website. But that is how we get to the access of the final lab, which we'll do very soon. Alrighty, so there's where we're going to go ahead and end it for this part of our PoE playthrough. Next part, we will be doing the final lab, which is actually going to be quite long and a lot more difficult. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed it, drop a like on it. I'll see you guys in the next part. Peace.